Hello everyone, welcome to the Motherdrive, and I am your host Kate Matthews, and we are here at episode 12 with Miss Ashley Cardini.
Hi!
And Ash is my wonderful dear friend, but also a super wonderful, insightful lady on delivering mindfulness and soulfulness to companies with a side of human design. So we're going to talk about human design as well later. So yes. Okay. So I want to first talk about the start. Ashley, I'll give a little bit of an intro as to what your background is momentarily, but I want to talk about the start first. What did you do specifically in your corporate life?
All right, so I started off, I was in corporate finance, managing events for about 13, 15 years. It was a dream job. I got to travel all over the world, planning events with big budgets, meeting presidents, meeting like all of the like smartest people in the room. I was never the smartest person in the room, but it was like, so it was the dream. It was the dream life, but it was very, very stressful. It was really stressful. And that's how I found meditation. Oh God, I don't know if I ever told you this story. So one day I was in the Newark airport. Did I ever tell you the story?
You did, but I would love to hear it again.
I was in the Newark airport on my way to an event in California, and I got a note on my BlackBerry. This was like 2010. I got a note on my BlackBerry that said,
everybody remembers the BlackBerry. It was a very stressful machine.
Yeah, beep beep, we're here for you. So it was a note from a hotel that I was working with that said, Ashley, we were going back and forth on email, and you just said that your event for next week was on Tuesday, but your contract actually says your event is on Wednesday. So like, we just want to make sure that we're on the same page here. And I said, no, the event's on Tuesday. And they're like, well, the event's on Wednesday.
In the contract.
And we have another group in house on Tuesday. So like, I don't know what you're going to do. And I was in the airport at the time, and my heart was beating so fast. I got on the airplane, and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? There was like tens of thousands of dollars on the line. My reputation, I was always like this very high achiever. And the airplane doors closed, and I was like, what am I going to do? I didn't know what to do. So that's when I opened the Hemisphere magazine in front of me, just to like try and distract myself.
I love that it was
the Hemisphere magazine. It was like, what, grabbing anything I can. And there was a double page spread on meditation, and that's when I meditated for the very first time. And it didn't, solve all the problems, but I was able to calm myself down, and I was able to come back to the hotel with, maybe we can do it in a different room, and maybe what are other solutions, instead of coming from this place of blame. Whose fault was this? It was coming from a place of solutions. And then I started to meditate every single day, and that's when everything shifted. And I thought, well, why isn't everybody talking about this? Like, clearly this is such a game changer in my life and how I'm relating to the world around me. There may have been craziness happening around me, but how I related to it wasn't getting sucked down into
the quicksand.
The quicksand, for sure. So why isn't everybody talking about this? And it was like my secret thing that I did. Like, I would go into like the supply closet and meditate for 10 minutes first thing in the morning.
Yes.
Secretly.
Yes.
And that was like change the game. And people noticed. People would say to me, Ashley, what are you doing? You're like really with it. And that's how I started with meditation.
So that's interesting. So the reason I wanted to start with that was because people need to really understand who you were and the weight of what you were doing before.
Very type A, very
shift.
Controlling, and I always prided myself on it. Like I got this.
Yeah.
I I have a very rigid way to do things, and my way is the right way, and I was rewarded for it.
Mm-hmm.
But my body wasn't, and I was run down, burnt out very fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so with that, the bio. So Ashley now is the founder and lead facilitator at WORK.WELL.WE. And I love that name.
Thank you.
Because it's just such a collective thing, the we, right?
Yeah.
And so she brings meditation and wellness content to the corporate space with workshops, mindfulness sessions, and retreats. So exciting. And then also that's not it. So through creating her own path, she also became passionate about helping other women build their dream businesses. Mm-hmm. And her side hustle web design passion turned into a profitable business of its own, which I'm telling you about yourself, but also everybody else. One very unique thing that Ashley does with her business is that she incorporates human design into her process when working with her clients. Mm-hmm. So, when we think back to that time where you had the airport incident and then in the time after, at what point did you realize things are they've definitively shifted for me, and I need to get the hell out of here?
Yeah. So I was in an office. My first son, Michael, was born in 2017, came back from maternity leave with him and got a promotion to a job that I hated. It was draining. And I remember sitting in a boardroom and I was kind of looking above myself, and I was just screaming on the inside. I had all the answers that I was spitting out right in the room, but I was screaming on the inside, get out of this room. This is not the room for you. And so I went on with that job for 2 more years, and I went on maternity leave with my second son, Max, in 2019. And something in my head was saying, you're never coming back to this office. So I packed up my desk and made it look like, okay, yeah, I'm here, but I wasn't there. And I knew I wasn't going back. And that's when I was on maternity leave with him and was supposed to go back March of 2020. And that's when the world shut down. And mm-hmm. I went back to work the week that everybody came home from work, and never went back. All my events that I was supposed to be working on were canceled. And in the meantime, my company had been bought out. So I knew that the company was going to have to make some tough people decisions. So that summer I called my bosses and I said, listen, I want you to know I'm the first to go. When you have to make the decision to chop people down, I'm the first one, because this is no longer in my path. And hey, guess what? I'm going to open a business teaching mindfulness at companies. And they were like, what? Meanwhile, I had secretly been doing that on the side as a secret side hustle. Is this a thing?
Testing the waters.
Do I like this? Am I good at it? Is it needed? Is anybody going to hire me for this? And in 2020, people needed it.
Oh, yeah.
So that's when I started my business. And going into companies, so what I do and what I do now is I teach mindfulness sessions. A lot of companies hire me on a monthly basis. And I go in and a lot of it's virtual, and we do half-hour mindfulness sessions at a time once a month. And then I also have a big chunk of professional development courses that I bring to, and workshops on, finding your flow, or, mindfulness for leaders. I have a couple that I do. So I started doing that. And then through that, should I keep going here?
Yeah, you.
So through that, people would say to me, Ashley, how did you build your own business? This is really cool that you're finding what you wanted to do and you're making it work, and you have a beautiful website, and I have this thing that I really want to do, but I don't know the first thing about building a business or building a website. How did you do it? And bringing it to life, for sure. So I started to help people build their websites and realized, this is fun. This is a good creative outlet where I miss the live experience of events, and this was a good creative outlet for that. And so I started to help people bring their dreams to life too. And that is just so fulfilling in a whole other way.
So human design, I touched on earlier, and about how you integrate that with your client experiences. But tell me first, what is your human design?
Human design. Okay, so for anybody that hasn't heard about human design before, it's like the most complex personality test you could ever take for yourself. Or
Correct.
Not complex. Well, it is complex, but I would say comprehensive. And it combines ancient Chinese medicine and astrology and all of these different things, but it makes it really applicable to who you are, how you're showing up in the world, how your purpose shows up around you. And it's like a way to apply your life. It's not like an Enneagram where you're like, oh, I guess I do it this way. It's like,
here's some strategies.
Yes. So my human design is a manifesting generator. There's 5 different energy types. So human design talks about how your energy shows up in the world and how you can harness your energy to the best of your ability. So I am what they call a manifesting generator, which means that I am able to, I have a lot of energy that I can put into things if it's aligned, and I can get my hands on a lot of different things if it's aligned.
The projects.
A lot of different projects if it's aligned. And if I'm working on something that is not aligned, I will drain my battery very fast and I will be depressed. And I mean, I feel like that's the same with everybody. But and a lot of people just have that battery energy and they can keep going and going and going. That's what you would call a generator. Why don't you tell people what you are?
I am a reflector, which is, there's 1% of the population who are reflectors, and reflectors are the most open chart. So basically they're empty. And that sounds really bad, but what it means is they're basically like a chameleon for energy. So they kind of absorb whatever is happening around them. And they operate on a lunar cycle. So they can feel many things and want to make decisions on the basis of the energy that is surrounding them at that particular time. But reflectors should not do that. They should wait until they're sure that this idea that they have is consistent and real for them, and not based on something that is being plugged into them from an outside source. So usually if reflectors, they might find it easier to like work in a coffee shop because there's a lot of like generating energy around there. So they naturally absorb that, and then they can become more focused or productive in their work. They're kind of like a blank canvas that just sort of, and there's many gifts, there's many, things that are a part of whatever your human design type is.
Yeah.
So
if you're interested in learning about human design, which I absolutely recommend, it has changed the way that I work, changed the way that I parent. Check out the My Human Design app. There's a ton of options out there if you Google human design. The My Human Design app is like the one that it's very approachable.
Yeah, and it's really, really good in terms of being able to digest the information and see situationally like how this might apply to you. And also you can look up your kids if you're a mom.
Oh my gosh.
Which is amazing. That's amazing. I recommend it.
Yeah, I've looked at my kids and it changes the way that I parent them.
Yeah, no doubt.
It helps me understand, okay, Max, my middle guy, has all the energy in the world, and it can be very overwhelming. It's a lot to deal with when he's running around right before bed. Understanding what his human design is and understanding that this is the way that he's hardwired, and that it's not something to be fixed, it's something to lean into and embrace, has changed the way that I work with him. And then I have Michael, he's 6 years old. He's a very old soul. He's what they call a projector, and understanding what that means for him.
My son and my husband are projectors. My daughter's a manifesting generator.
So understanding how Michael relates to new scenarios around him and seeing that he needs to, test the waters out. He's not just going to go and make new friends right away. He's like taking it all in before he then decides what's right for him, and not pushing him to like, oh, go say hi to that kid over there. Go. That's changed the way how I work with him too.
Because you know what he's doing. You understand.
Oh, yeah.
It's, this is just how, like you said, he's hardwired. So what's interesting is that we're talking about how this incorporates into your work with your clients.
Yes.
So tell me about that. How does that work?
So on a corporate world life, I haven't done this yet, but I plan to make a course almost like Strengths Finders in how you can work well with other people based on human design in that way. That is in the works. And then from a business standpoint, when I work with other women on websites and the website development, I think it's so important to talk to them about what their human design is, how they incorporate their intuition. So this is what I pull out. So when I'm working with new clients and we're on a timeline, some people, the way that they work, they like get a gut reaction of like, yep, this is right for me, this is wrong for me, yep, and they just know right away.
I do that.
You do that. I do not do that. I need a 24-hour cycle to like feel like the excitement of like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. Oh, but wait, it's not quite right. Or yeah. And it's like this wave that I feel that like I get a hit of excitement and then I might get a hit of like anxiety. And I need that full 24 hours to feel the cycle of emotion that I go through. And there's different ways that other people feel their intuition hits too.
Yeah.
So I like to understand that about my clients before I start to push them into something that may or may not be right for them.
Yeah.
Because if I give you the way that you react to things is like a gut reaction, if I let you sit on that too long, you could start to question it. You could start to doubt, is that the right thing? I don't know. Maybe I should do this. You might start to look at other things and get like, I like that too, and I like that. What you said,
what's so interesting about that to me is that I, by my human design, should take a 28-day lunar cycle to observe things. But also, my highest gift is the inner knowing. So it's kind of weird. I have a couple of things going on that are operating in a different...
But understanding how you process helps you make decisions that are right for you.
100%.
And with the work that I'm doing, it's all about bringing out your purpose in your purpose, in whatever your purpose-driven business.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that, we're not just slapping up whatever you want to do on a web page and saying like, oh, well, this is what I do. It needs to be aligned. I'm helping women get to the core of who they are and bringing it out in their businesses. So that foundational understanding of who you are and what you're here to do, I feel like is so important to understand before we start working together and pulling that out on a website or in a live event or however that shows up.
Right. Yeah, that's very interesting for me because so when I think about websites and my own experience with my website personally, and I think about my human design and I think about my intuition and all of those things, I know immediately when it comes to aesthetics.
Oh yeah.
Anything aesthetic, I can make a very quick, decisive decision. Like there's no going back also. Yeah. Like if once I have said no, no, that's it. Like that's it. It just like once my gut says that's not the right color, that's not the right position, that's not, I never waver and I never get it lost in the gray or doubt or that for me, where I might get lost in the doubt or start to reflect and think, oh God, maybe I'm second guessing, is when I'm writing something up on the website, like communicating a message beyond just the aesthetic, like layout of the design and of the website, etc. So it's interesting. Different things bring up different things for people, right? Like they sort of like pull different things out of you, like where someone else might just get completely lost at the aesthetics of a website and not have any idea what a layout should be or whatever. And they're like hemming and hawing and whatever over it. That's not that for me. But yet they're very concise with their message.
So that's so good to understand about all of my clients when I go into it. Like, what I always like to say, or to understand, we have this like communication before we go into a project with like, what are you drawn to? What do you love? And I want to understand, like, where do they need me? I can take over the whole project very easily, but like, where do you know what you want and where do you not know what you want? And
that's great.
Talking through that to make sure that, you know, I'm not overstepping, because this is your baby, you being every client. This is your baby, and you know your business much better than I do. I can guide you to what I know based on everything else that I see. But at the end of the day, your intuition and what is right to you is what should be driving, not the bro marketing, not what we have already seen before. It's all about bringing our unique essences out into the world, because even if it's different from what we have seen before, I should say that it will be different than what we've seen before. That's what I feel like really here to do, is to squash what has already been done and listen to ourselves instead of listening to the world around us.
Correct. Yep, that is right. Okay, so I want to talk about these soulful events and experiences. So what kinds of experiences like have you created for businesses, or do you want to create for businesses?
So my background is in corporate events, and I spent so much time and energy working through the most gorgeous, once-in-a-lifetime experiences. If I'm being honest, most of the attendees were old white men. And I realized I have a gift for curating environments and for making you feel something. When you open the door to an event, you walk in and you feel that there's a shift in energy.
Right.
And there's a shift of like, oh, what's going to happen here? Oh, this is new. You're walking in from somewhere else into this space where anything can unfold. And so what I have done and want to do is to bring that gift to spaces where the content inside is transformational. So I have worked with other coaches to bring their retreats to life, and have been able to create those spaces where, you know, a lot of times coaches and healers, they don't know about the like logistics with how to work with a property, how to save money on your contract, how to do all of those things. And that's where they kind of get lost in the sauce, and their gift is what's happening inside. Yeah. So I've been doing a little bit of that. And then I haven't done this yet, but what I want to do is for companies that are open to the type of, you know, bringing mindfulness to their teams, I want to help them create retreats and help them, you know, curate the type of content that is approachable in a corporate space. With mindfulness, we could talk a little bit about human design, talk about leadership development, but from this place of human sustainability and from the place of how can you help your people be better people? Correct. As opposed to, we need to be more productive now. Yeah. Because at the end of the day, you know, with AI coming in, we're going to be able to produce.
That's not the problem.
But that's not the problem. Your people being people, and how to sustain them in businesses and help them fulfill their purpose in your business is what I am working to accomplish.
That's amazing. I love that for you, and I love that for
I love that for you.
I know you personally, so I love that for you. But I also love that for people collectively, because it's really badly needed. Yeah. And I've spoken a little bit about this in my own personal work endeavors with the Motherdrive. just talking about how, 46% of mothers are in therapy, and, close to 60% of like youth are, in this space where they haven't even necessarily received treatment for depression. And there's a lot going on from a mental health standpoint, and mindfulness is definitely so critical for just the world as a collective.
Completely agree. I think it's changing the world. I read a stat this morning, actually, that families these days get 37 minutes on average together each day. And so I have to ask myself, like, what am I doing with those 37 minutes?
Correct.
Am I sitting there, scrolling on my phone or like being distracted while I'm with my kids and my husband? Or are we being really intentional with how we spend our time? Are we being really present with how we spend our time? And I think that's the work.
Yeah.
I think the work is in the presence and being mindful throughout the day. And with that presence, I think some of those other things start to melt away.
Yeah, that's right. You actually have this quote on your website where you say almost everything will work again if you unplug it for a few minutes, even you. And that's by Anne Lamott. But I had to share this because when I read that quote, it was just like so impactful. And I just thought about my own home and the fact that as a whole, as a family, unplugging is important, I think, probably every day to reset and stay present and mindful with your kids. Like, I've even thought about getting a box and just surrendering my phone to it for a certain period in the evening where I know I am not doing this. I am not looking.
Sometimes that I love that hack.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
because if it's there, you gravitate.
It's magnetic to you.
It is.
It's hard not to just pull it up.
It's tethered.
My kids have sometimes like brought my phone to me and said, "Mommy, here's your phone." I'm like, I don't need my phone on me 24/7. And
it's okay.
They see it. And so I love that. It's in the box now. I don't need it. It doesn't need to be on the dinner table.
No. And these things need to start to change, I think, probably in our home. But also just from even a work culture standpoint, the idea of just unplugging as a company for 30 minutes a day. It actually would serve.
I love that plan to unplug for 30 minutes a day. I've seen a lot of companies do things like no meeting Tuesdays.
No, bro. Unplug 30 minutes for the day. Like no lunchtime is not to be worked through.
Yes.
It's not
have
healthy.
a mindful lunch. But yeah, you need to make the small steps to apply it into your life today. It's not like if you're exercising, you can't go like run a marathon tomorrow. You're not gonna put down your phone for a week at a time,
No.
So what are some small things that you can apply to your life today, like putting your phone in a box for dinner time, or taking 30 minutes for lunch and really eating your lunch and not feeling like I need to be productive and watch the show, because at the end of the day, that 30 minutes is gonna recharge you.
It does.
Right? And help you for the rest of your day. So,
well, I meditate every single day.
Yes. What's your routine? What's your routine?
So usually my routine is I'll get up earlier than my children and I will get mindful before they wake. So the first thing that I would do is meditate and then move and then gratitude. And then they are around and breakfast.
That's beautiful. That's how I like to operate too. But I'm in a season right now. I have a little baby and she's not really sleeping very well. So, so how I'm working that out though is, my husband knows I need 20 minutes a day to recharge, where no one's knocking on the door, no one's, coming in. And And he knows that. So I say to him, like, okay, I need to take my 20.
Yeah.
Take my 20. And he knows what that means. And he's like, okay, I gotcha. And so that communication is one more step to helping us live a more mindful life here.
You know, it's interesting because when we think about our partners, right, they know us well, hopefully, right? And so my husband will even often say to me, have you meditated?
Yes.
Or he'll know, and he'll be like, you should go meditate.
Yeah.
The same way he knows, have you eaten?
Yes.
You should go and eat.
You're a little hangry.
Yeah.
Do you need some food?
Yeah. Like, you know, so it's mindfulness for me and meditation for me is just such a like
a normal
non-negotiable.
Yeah, non-negotiable.
Part of my day. It really is.
I feel like once you start, or once you've had a taste of how it can affect your life, it becomes a non-negotiable.
I also just want to talk really quickly about this, because once you bridge yourself into this world of mindfulness, right? Like, and I think people think that mindfulness is like you have to sit there and meditate and close your eyes and like shut your mind down. That shit is not it.
No,
okay, let me just say that is not it. Like, mindfulness can be, you know, a spreadsheet, like you like spreadsheets, so you're looking at spreadsheets. You know, mindfulness can be, you know, you're going on your walk and you have your favorite music playing in your ears and you are just zoned out in that moment of just the walk. You don't have to shut off all the dialogue that's going on in your mind.
No, mindfulness is being in the present moment.
It really is.
Thinking about the past or thinking about the future.
You're
just dialed into the moment listening to that song instead of making your grocery list.
You're not, the moment. Your attention is not fragmented all over the place like it is for most of the day. And, you know, I think people really get lost in that, and mindfulness gets a bad rap, or I can't possibly do this because I don't know how to shut my brain off. I've had so many conversations with people like that, and I'm like, no, you know, when you are, even if you have young kids and you see them doing something like whether it's bouncing a basketball or, you know, coloring, like those are mindful activities for kids. They really are there doing just that. So much so that it has actually been proven by psychologists that they don't really hear you when you're yelling,
Max.
Yes, it's not his fault. Like, doctors have said this, like, the brain is actually just not in a space where it's like letting this other information
not being ignored.
in.
He is in the moment.
He's just doing what he's doing. And if we could all just be a little bit more like children sometimes and live in that kind of joy of just that moment, you know, it would be much more mentally healthy for us.
Oh, I love that.
You know, I think there's a lot of noise.
There's a lot of noise. And when you take the time to, when you notice, that's the key.
Yeah.
That's key. You don't need to take 20 minutes to be alone. The key is that moment of when you notice.
Yeah.
And then you can say, oh, I'm operating over here. I'm like trying to do 7 things at once. I'm not in the moment. When you notice that you're not in the moment, it's the coming back into the moment.
Yeah.
Like, I'm out here and it's coming back to the moment.
Right.
That's mindfulness. That like space in between the noticing and the coming back to presence is what it's all about.
That is absolutely right. And then the last thing that I want to ask you about is 2 things, actually. Okay. Best piece of advice as a mother that you've ever gotten.
That I've ever gotten. Oh gosh. I don't know that I've ever gotten great advice, which is so funny because we get so much advice slung at us all the time. The best advice that I would give would be as present as you can. And I know that is easier said than done, but I find myself, this whole conversation, I find it's a practice.
Yeah.
The presence is a practice. And when you start to practice, You start to live life from a place of now, as opposed to a place of, I should do this, I want to do this, I didn't do that. It's not regret, it's not shame for how you acted before. It's this place of, okay, I'm here now, and what is there to appreciate now? What can I be grateful for now? What can I notice now? Even if you're like in the midst of a storm.
Yeah, that's right.
You don't need to be grateful for the storm, but you can notice the storm, as opposed to being in the storm and taking yourself out of the storm and just seeing it. So that's what I believe presence is.
Just the observation.
The observation of it all.
And what's the best piece of business advice that you've ever gotten?
Also funny, I don't know that I've ever gotten really great business advice either.
What's the best piece of business advice you could give? Or to a mother who's out there starting her own business, what would you say?
All right, so I was in a StrengthsFinder session once, and we were like doing like a team building, like going around in a circle, and someone said, what's the best piece of advice you ever got? And this is not related to business, but I think that it is. And my mom would recite to me this poem that she read every day when she was little. It was like posted on her bulletin board. And the poem said, she found it in the 17 magazine when she was like 12. But the poem said, of all the people you will know in a lifetime, you are the only person you will never leave or lose. To the questions of your life, you are the only answer. And to the problems of your life, you are the only solution.
That is completely accurate.
So I was in this StrengthsFinder, and someone in the room looked at me and they said, Ashley, that is very overwhelming. And to me, I thought, wait, that's not overwhelming. That's not controlling. That is empowering. That is saying to me, like, I can do, like, this is my life to live.
Believe in yourself.
I'm not listening to the people in the room right now. I'm listening to what my intuition says. And so I think the same thing goes for motherhood, and the same thing goes for business. That when you listen to yourself and you empower yourself to make the choices that are right for you, when you see everything around you and you make what's right, make the choice that's right for you, that is the most empowering thing. And that's what you should be listening to.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That inner voice. My mother always said to me, well, this is a common one. Wherever you go, there you are, right?
Yeah.
And that's the classic. Just, you're never going to live. That's it.
There
Wherever
you
you
are.
go, there you are. And then one of my favorite things is everything is temporary. And I think that applies to business and motherhood and life and everything. Because if you are in a storm and you can say to yourself, this is temporary. If you are in, anger, you can say this is temporary. If you're in sadness or happiness for that matter, every single emotion that you feel is temporary, and each of the emotions and their, segments in your life allow you to appreciate the other for what it is,
happiness all the time isn't
happiness
the answer.
But it also isn't happiness because then it just becomes nothingness. It's just the thing that you feel all the time, which becomes monotonous and all the other things. But yeah, everything is temporary is probably my biggest
That's a good one.
That's a good one. Yeah. But I think that's a wrap.
Thank you for having me. This was a fun conversation. I always love chatting with you.
Thank you so much for coming and sitting in my car.
It's a good car. It's very cozy.
All right, everyone. Bye.
Bye.